We've now got Docker containers to solve issues with running npm run start in development, run test in development, and run build in a production environment as well. So we've now essentially set up everything that we need on the Docker side of this equation. Now we're going to figure out how to use these containers that we put together to really implement this flow that we spoke about earlier, where we're going to have a GitHub repo with some feature branch that you and I are going to develop on, with a master branch that we're going to deploy from, and an integration with Travis CI and AWS as well. Now, before we start to implement this process right here with the containers we put together, one quick note. So we're going to be using a couple of different services here. Like we just said, GitHub, Travis CI, and AWS. Now, GitHub is a completely free service, and if you're here in a course about Docker, I'm going to kind of assume that you understand the basics of Git. Most notably, commits, pushing branches, creating branches, all that kind of good stuff. I'm also going to assume that you already have a GitHub account. So if you don't have a GitHub account, or if you have no experience with Git whatsoever, well, do your best to come through with this. I'll be as clear as I can on why we are running some of our different commands when working with Git. But again, I'm going to kind of assume you've got a reasonable understanding of Git. Now, Travis CI is another free service that we're going to be making use of. They are the CI, or Continuous Integration Provider. This is the service that's going to be running our tests for us automatically, and then eventually deploying our application over to AWS for us as well. Now, I'm not going to assume that you have experience with Travis, so if you have not worked with it before, no problem whatsoever. We're going to walk through it step by step together. But again, I kind of hope that you got some knowledge of Git and GitHub. Travis CI is a free service, no credit card required or anything like that. And the last service that we're going to be making use of is AWS. They're going to be hosting our application once we deploy it. AWS is free to sign up for, but I do believe that they require a credit card if you're going to sign up. Now, if you don't have a credit card to use with AWS, or if for some reason you don't want to create an account, that's okay. For the most part, we're going to be just doing a handful of videos that are going to be focused around AWS. So no big issue if you're not familiar with AWS, or if you don't have an account with them and don't want to make one. I will be running through all the commands and setup that you're going to need to know. So even if you don't want to work with AWS, I still recommend you watch this next series of videos and just kind of get a sense of what's going on. At the end of the day, once you put your application into a Docker container, deployment to all these different providers like AWS or Google Cloud or DigitalOcean, really, it's all pretty darn similar. We're just using AWS here because they're one of the more popular providers out there for hosting. So with all that in mind, let's take a quick break. In the next section, we're going to start implementing our big development flow here, starting off first with a little bit of GitHub work. So quick break, and I'll see you in just a minute.